Hello, and welcome to the Magic is Real podcast. I am Shannon. I am a psychic medium, and I am the host of this podcast on which we talk about spiritual journeys, near death experiences, all things metaphysical and spiritual. If you like this podcast, would you do me a big favor? Or actually, it's a little favor, but it has a big impact. And that is if you can subscribe if you're enjoying the content, share with other people, just put a like under the video, and a comment really helps as well. Even if you only have time to drop a little heart or something, it just really helps support the channel. You don't have to pay anything, and it shows your support and gets the podcast out to more people. So thank you for that. Today, I'm happy to have with me Erica Gholizadeh, and I'm going to read what she wrote to me, and then we're going to talk about her spiritual journey, the work she does, and all things metaphysical and spiritual. So, uh, Erica's focus is energy healing, past life work, soul retrieval. These are areas of interest for her. She we would like to, I would like to talk about extraterrestrials with you some. And she is the author of Bridging Realms, Multidimensional Healing Through Past Lives and More, which I'm so excited to talk about. We will have a link to the book below in the description if you're interested in checking it out. I highly encourage you to. The book includes true stories from her healing practice to help readers expand their consciousness about the complexities of the soul and inspire them to embrace new possibilities in their spiritual and healing journey. Erica, welcome to Magic is Real. I'm very happy to have you with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. So, Erica, I want to know about you because I know that you have been an intuitive since you were very young. And I'd just love to hear about your background and perhaps when you first started to notice that you had these gifts, or if it was always just there and you took them for granted, or anything you'd like to share.
Sure, absolutely. My gifts have gone through so many different stages throughout my life. So, like some of the things that I was able to do as a child, I can't do now. Some things that I do now, I couldn't do then. And a lot of things I didn't really understand as a child. For example, when I'd get like flashes of past lives or places where I'd go to that felt very familiar, and I'd have visions of seeing people there, I didn't really understand. I thought there was something wrong with me sometimes. It didn't really feel like it was normal, and nor did I know anybody that had those experiences. One thing that I did often as a child was I was able to see through people and feel their suffering, and then I would pray for healing. And when I would do that, I'd go into a state of trance where all of their pain and suffering would just kind of move through me as I felt it, and I would communicate with my guides and God and everything, and ask for the healing. And I felt like I had no control over what was going on, what was moving through me, and what I was feeling about that person. But all I knew is that they would get healed. And I felt zombied out for days after. Like, I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And sometimes it felt like there was an earthquake going on inside of me. Not very, not very comfortable or easy to be able to sense people's pain and suffering around me. So that was always a challenge for me. And sometimes I'd say things and they'd happen and I'd freak people out. I did that throughout my life. And I wouldn't really say that I am the type of psychic that likes to make predictions, but sometimes things do come to me. My natural gift has always been being able to see past lives and being able to understand what people's challenges and pain and suffering may pertain to, that goes way back. So it's like Bridging Realms, which is the name of my book, is I help kind of bridge realms between now and the past as to where someone's challenges may have begun. So it's a pretty deeply profound and soul evolving process, because once we gather all the pieces to the puzzle, then we know exactly what we're working with, and then I could kind of use some of my tools, whether it be hypnosis or Reiki or all, I have certifications in a lot of different things, but the primary thing is really following my divine guidance and intuition to really sense what is the best tool and the best method. And I literally get shown what to do and what to say. So it's and then feel kind of where the blockages are within someone energetically and what those blockages pertain to. So it's there's a lot to
Yeah, I
it.
have questions. Well, first of all, just with what you just said, when you, I'm a medium, so you're speaking my language, and I also think some people don't know what we mean when we say that we are given information or receive. So let's talk about, you just mentioned like where people need healing. So for me, this isn't true. I was going to say sometimes I have to intend to connect with spirit and ask them to come in to show me some things. Other times they just come to me because there's a message that needs to be relayed, right? So it's not always intent. But what I do want to know is when you are looking at a client or even just a person out in the world, what is it that you see? How do you see, right? How do you know? What senses are telling you, oh, this person has migraines or this person has a spiritual malady?
Sure. So for me, when I tune into somebody, it normally begins with a sensation within me. So I'll either feel like I'm out of my body, for example. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely either that person's out of their body or I'm in a past life when they died, for example. So I always tune into the sensations in my body. So it's kind of like stepping inside the person and being able to feel what's going on inside them. So my kinesthetic sensor is probably the strongest, and then what follows the kinesthetic is visual. So I'm able to see. Oh, I see you as this man, and I see you being hung, and I see this, I see that. So then the stories begin to unfold, and
Yeah.
it's like watching a movie. Really, it's like it's information that's coming to me. I'm not going to it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's not like I'm trying to figure things out, but I'm getting downloads. It just comes through me and out of me. And sometimes as fast as it comes through me, it's like going in one ear and out the other. So it's like it's erased. I'm like, I hope you remember that because I don't know what I just said, So and a lot of times it's not really my information to keep. So some things do stick, but a lot of times a lot of the information that I get is not mine to keep. So I it gets deleted out of my database.
Right. So when you're treating, or I don't know if treating is the right word, but when you're working with a client, um, okay, so the first thing is do you do past life regressions or do you simply just do it yourself?
Excellent question. When I first started my practice in 2018, I began with past life regression. So the old traditional way, and I have my certifications and everything, and hypnosis and all of that. So one thing I realized was that a lot of times people are limited to what they can see. For example, if they're swimming in a pool of emotions and they're trying to figure out what's going on, they may not see the whole picture. They may see bits and pieces and may also be stuck in trauma zone, like in a traumatic state of being, basically. And so I noticed, and then some people are very analytical and they try to figure everything out with their minds. And this kind of work is you really have to trust and go within and open your heart. So the more open you are, the more you get to experience. But the more you try to dissect things, the more your ego and your intellect gets in the way. So I noticed that was happening also when I tried to regress people. They were limited in what they were able to see and experience and the information that they were able to gather. And sometimes some people they just get in their own way. Well, before I knew it, I began to get more and more downloads while I was doing these regressions, to the point where it was like, wow, that's a waste of time to walk somebody through that entire process, what I can just get downloads just like that and then connect dozens, if not hundreds of dots, and it could be multiple past lives that could be unfolding before me, one after the next, pertaining to some specific information that their soul needs to know in order to know what we're working with, what decisions they've made way back, and what the new decisions need to be. So then once we find out what is necessary after most often getting downloads. If I don't get downloads, that means that I'm supposed to regress somebody. And once I do that, then typically downloads, then we pretty much know why they have their current challenges. And then I figure out how they would like their life to be different, how they'd like to feel instead. And then I do the reprogramming while my clients are typically lying down in a relaxed position, which is done either remotely. So, in the comfort of their home, they could be lying down while I'm walking them through the process of applying lavender oil or different essential oils and crystals. Crystals are great for, clearing energy and also supporting the healing process. So various crystals do serve great benefits and by placing them in certain areas that I intuitively feel like they belong. And then once they lie down and they're totally comfortable and they have their crystals placed on top, I pretty much take over. Typically, I walk them through like a relaxation process where I'm kind of guiding the energy to move through them, and I'm able to feel what blockages, which are pertain to what challenges and potentially what lifetime and who, I'm able to feel where those blockages are and then know what I need to reprogram. So sometimes, like for example, if I'm in the heart chakra and this big old past life is stuck there, I'll just kind of start to do the healing work and then the reprogramming there. And then I'll move forward and I'll be like, oh, there's this big old cord here with your dad in this past life and so on. Also, removing of cords is very important, but then learning the life lessons behind them in order to be able to really learn and grow from our experiences as opposed to clearing. So it's very beneficial to replace with life enhancing new decisions.
That's what I was going to ask you about because from what I understand, we have these past lives and there are karmic themes within our lives. And oftentimes we really don't resolve them necessarily in this life. So we come back and we still kind of are dealing with that same thing. So we might repeat patterns, but our free will might lead us to healing from that and saying, you know what, I'm not going to make that choice anymore and repeat these patterns. I'm not going to continue this kind of addictive behavior or whatever. And I don't know if it's like the curse is broken, but we are given free will so that we can make these decisions and decide what's in our highest and best good. Well, my question there is, so if that's sort of why, partly why we're here to work through these things, if it can just be cleared by doing a cord cutting, and this is like, that's what I was wondering, like, how I don't even know how to put it into words. It's like, how can is that sort of allowed? Is that cheating? How are we allowed to just clear it like that? But and then you just touched on it. It's like, yes, we clear that energy, but then also now don't, maybe you want to choose not to repeat those addictive behaviors, for example. If you so I think you know what I'm trying to say, but that's exactly what my question was going to be is if we're meant to have these experiences and keep learning from them, then how are we sort of allowed to just be like, yep, I'm going to break that chain and be done with it without doing the work, quote unquote. You didn't say that. So I'd love to hear just a little bit more about that. And if you can share something anecdotal about, I know that you have client privacy, and I know you've probably written about some in your book, but even a small example of somebody that came in with some issue and the way that you resolved it as it pertains to their past life.
Yeah, of course. Sure. Now, as far as for example, just cutting the cord. I have this one client who's in my book, and she was she had ended a long relationship, and it was quite challenging for her. So every time she felt him, she felt where the cords were, and she would immediately just cut the cords, cut the cords, cut the cords. But then they would sneak back in, you know.
Mhm.
And it's the same exact thing with when I do home clearings, and I'm trying to take care of the spirits that are there. If I just kick them out without doing the work, they're just going to walk back in as soon as I
Right.
leave. You know what I mean? Same thing with cords, same thing with not learning our lessons, and same thing with not doing the work. You know, for example, there may be a profound forgiveness process that somebody needs to go through, like layers and layers of it. For instance, sometimes someone will tell me, oh, I've done all the work I can with what, I've forgiven my dad. We're cool. Everything is great. And I'm like, really? And then when I tune in, I'm like, boy, your dad is really present. And then I'm like, what about this? And what about that? And the next thing I know, they start bawling. And so sometimes we're not always aware of how much we actually have forgiven someone, how much we have done the work, and whether we need to do the inner child work, for instance, which is always very profound. So I never know exactly what it's going to entail, but it's always going to be an important part of the healing and learning and growing process. Because if you're eliminating all of that, what the healing opportunities are, how you can learn from this experience, how you can do different in the future, and how you would like your patterns to be different. So all of those need to be visited. You need to know what's there and how you'd like your life to be different, instead of just cut, I've forgiven, goodbye, dad's gone, and no more cords with this person. Well, they're just, and then sometimes what connects to that is what we resist persists. Like, we may think that, oh yeah, we did the work with this person, we're good. But then they keep haunting us and they keep haunting us. It's because we have more work to do. And I don't know. So some people think that, oh, just send them love, and love heals everything. Yeah, that's part of the process, but not all of it. Forgiveness is
Right.
part of the process, not all of it. Learning your lessons is part of the process. So it's all like, it's a very layered uh, process that somebody really has to take the time and move through all the things that pertaining to their challenge, in order for them to reach this higher awareness and have a very complete clear of the entire picture, so that you know exactly what led you here. Why is it lifetime after lifetime after lifetime you have the same old issues, and who all it pertains to, and perhaps what your karmic duties are with them, because sometimes we're paying our karmic debts too by having certain things reoccur, and why we might be suffering. But if you unfold the reasons why and get to the root and do the work, history doesn't have to keep repeating itself, and nor does karma. Does
Right.
that
And you're yes, it does. And that's a good way to put it is you're facilitating, you're kind of helping them accelerate the process of identifying what the karmic loop is and then how can we heal it. Not and yes, let's start with a little energy clearing and then so that we stay in this clear space, let's see what actions we can take to perpetuate that healing. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, do you just wondered if you have a specific sort of story or anecdote or even something
Oh,
you've
yes.
heard of to illustrate that?
Yeah, of course, of course. So, you mean just like kind of give a past life
Yeah, like
example?
anything you're allowed to share about maybe an experience you've had or an experience someone you know has had or a client that you're allowed to share about of how what they discovered and how you were able to how they were able to yeah to make to sort of reverse it and what was the past life that you were able to see.
Okay, sure, sure. So, one example is I had a client that was originally she actually lived in New York, and she was out here visiting, she was looking for somebody that can help her with this recurring pattern that she's had throughout her entire lifetime. Every so often, and she was not able to specify what the specific trigger was, but she would just find herself in somewhat of a paralyzed place where she wasn't able to talk, she wasn't able to eat, she wasn't able to leave her home, she wasn't able to explain what was going on, but she felt like she was going to die, and she was like in this massive fear mode. Now, mind you, she had gone to all kinds of healers, to retreats, some from famous people all over the world. I mean, you name it, she'd done so much. Well, she came to me and she told me about this, and we did some work, and it was a step by step process because she was very, very fragile. And sometimes when somebody is that sensitive and have experienced so much trauma, you can't just dive in and say, "Oh, this is what happened and this is what we did. This is what we're going to have to do." You have to just kind of build their foundation and do some piece by piece from surface going down to deeper and deeper, like peeling an onion, getting down and down to the core. So anyway, so after her first session, she noticed, she was like, "Wow, everything you told me was spot on." It was regarding many things in her life, but she also had that one particular intention. When she told her boyfriend that, yeah, Erica's the real deal, that's when her boyfriend turned to her and said, "I didn't want to tell you this because I didn't want this to be my opinion." But he had seen a very well known psychic in New York, and she had told him that your partner is going to see this healer in Colorado, and she's the person that's going to help her. So when she told him that Erica's the one that's going to help me, that's when he told her. And she's like, "It all makes sense." So she decided to live out here for a while. She bought a package. Very long story short, one day my guidance told me, "She's ready. Ask her if she's ready, and I will deliver the messages." And I was like, "Okay, they're telling me that we're ready to tell you what the root of your challenges is. Why is it every so often you go through?" And sometimes it could happen more than once a month, and sometimes she could go a few months without any episodes at all and be completely normal. And she's like, "Yes, absolutely." And my guidance is like, "Okay, well, you have to look at her, look into her eyes." So I asked permission. I said, "Can I sit in front of you and look into your eyes?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." I mean, she trusted me fully by that point. We'd been working together, and she was like coming regularly, so once every week or two. At any rate, I just started to get downloads of information from this past life where she was in a concentration camp. So some of the sounds and the visions and words and things like that that would trigger her in this life, and it was never like anything specific that was reoccurring, but it could just be like a twirling of the hair or something. It could just be, look in the eye, in someone's eye or something. But what would happen is it would reawaken those traumas in her cells when she felt completely powerless and petrified and didn't know how she was going to survive and saw so many people being killed. So as I was delivering this, now mind you, I had the chills and I was like shaking and tears were just rolling down my cheeks. And she's just staring at me like she just saw a ghost or something. She's just like, "Whoa." Not saying anything, not crying, not doing anything, but just kind of like staring at me. And so finally, when I told her every single thing that her soul needed to know about that experience and what needed to get healed and what decisions she made then and what new decisions we need to make now, I then asked her, I'm like, "Does this make sense?" And she's like, "100%. Absolutely." She goes, "I feel it in every ounce of my being." And she, like all the hair on her body was standing up. She's like, "Look," and I'm like, "Yeah, definitely." So I had her lie down on the massage table, and I use some lavender oil to help relax her and clear her energy a little bit, and then place some stones on top of her. Then I moved her through a relaxation process. Then I did the reprogramming, but by and I also did soul retrieval, where I gathered all the souls that were affected from that traumatic time and just help them all rise above and make new decisions together. So it was kind of like a group healing session. And I did the reprogramming and then just kind of watched them all go into the light, which was very profound. Sometimes when I'm experiencing these things, it's like I'm like somewhere far away and I feel like I get high from the experience. It's like, whoa, that's so profound. And sometimes I sit there and cry while they're just like, well, okay, that's great. And I'm like,
Yeah.
do you see how profound this is? Because I'm like feeling everything, and not everybody is as kinesthetic as I am, and that may not be their primary sensory. But for those who are very sensitive and intuitive or empaths, they're usually right there beside me. They're usually even telling me, giving me additional information. Oh yeah, and I see this happening and that, and by the way, my dad was there too from this lifetime, so we kind of work together as a team. Long story short, I did that session probably by now. It's probably been about a couple years, and I have not heard of another episode since then. So, and this was a lifelong, traumatic experience that she was having from time to time, where she felt like she had no control over what would take over her.
Yeah. I know that there things like that are so incredibly traumatic that I wonder how can you clear something like that and release the fear? So I guess the question would be, okay, now that I know what my past life is, and I know there are numerous ones, but the most profound ones that are still kind of keeping all of us blocked. Okay, the awareness of it, how does that help me to move forward? If it is something that was like you said, being in a concentration camp, right? Where it's, what are we to learn from that? And it's in that situation, it was something that was imposed upon somebody. And so how does it affect us today, which is, of course, fear, not feeling safe, which is totally understandable. And then how can we teach ourselves to feel safe now after a past life experience as traumatic as the one you just described?
Mhm. What I do is not an intellectual process at
Yeah.
all. You know what I mean? So it's not like, okay, well, you need to say this affirmation every day. It's not like that at all. I mean, affirmations are great sometimes, but that's not that's not what's doing the rewiring.
Yeah.
So what I do is they basically show me, it's almost like they step inside of me and they're showing me what needs healing and what healing is taking place. So sometimes I could just be the observer and just sitting back and watching this profound transformation happen before my eyes. I'm like, wow, okay, okay. And now there's these other souls that are coming in. Oh, now everybody's joining in. So it's not like I do things consciously or per following any particular teachings or particular steps or knowing what's going to unfold next or what I'm going to say next or what I'm going to see next. No, it's like I go into a session completely surrendering and having no idea at all what's going to unfold, what the healing opportunities are going to be, and then what their soul needs, because everybody's at a different place. And
Yeah.
and everybody has different experiences. I mean, even if you take like 10 people and they watch the same movie and you ask them all the same questions, they're going to each probably tell you something totally different, right? Because we're all coming from a different place. So I kind of meet people where they're at based on what they need. And then and a lot of times they're doing the work for me. And I'm just kind of like the witness. And sometimes when I need that to get for them to hear something that their soul needs to then they kind of speak through me, and I need to say something, or I need to go and touch their crown, or I need to touch their feet. And then it's like sometimes when I do touch, it's for those who are sensitive, it could be like electricity, and some people have seen like big waves of energy moving through them or coming through them. So yeah, each and every session and experience is so different. So it's hard for me to say, but all I know is that my particular gift is getting to the root of challenges. That's what divine has assigned me to do, is whatever it is, whether it's alcohol, whether it's some sort of an addiction or phobia or relationship issues or money blockages. I mean, there's absolutely no limit at all. But once we get to the root, then we know what all the missing pieces are. When we just focus on this life, it's almost like we're limited. We have this whole puzzle to put together, but then we only have 10 out of 20. And then a lot of people that come to me, they're like, oh, I've undergone so many years of therapy. I've done this, I've done that, but I'm still having the same issues. It's because they're going as far as their conscious minds can remember. And when we go beyond that and help you understand the whole picture, and maybe who and when and why, and what the trauma was, what needs healing, and what the missing pieces are, then we know exactly what we're working with, so we could do a complete job of the reprogramming. Otherwise, you're limited.
Yeah, and I would assume you're working with guides, higher self, because our souls chose this experience. So if you only date addicts, for example, and in this life you had an addict for a parent, um, that could be, yeah, okay, you understand why I date addicts because my parent was an addict. But it goes further than that. It goes back to your soul actually chose this lifetime for you and said, I'm going to have an addict for a parent because this karmic lesson still has more, we still have more learning to do. So it can manifest in so many ways. And that's what's really interesting, is that the soul can kind of create so many millions of different choose your own adventure ways to go that will help us work out this particular theme. And that's it's really interesting, how that happens. That makes perfect sense to me. So I also want to know what your experience and knowledge and understanding is of. I know this is kind of a sharp turn, but I do want to talk about the role of extraterrestrials in our universe and in our lives, and anything you know about them, or do you communicate with them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I communicate with them energetically. I can give you an example of a time when I was doing a home clearing where I was able to feel their presence, and had confirmation from the people that live there. Um, when I do home clearings, I typically use Palo Santo. And I like Palo Santo just because it kind of it doesn't just clear, but it replaces with peaceful energy. And so it's almost like it's my switch on. And so when I turn it on, I'm able to see and feel things like entirely. It's like literally walking into a dark room and then turning the light on and being able to see what's in the room. That's how I am when I turn my Palo Santo on. That's my, here we go. So originally, the reason why I went to that home was because they had a lot of paranormal activities in this home, and they had this one lady who actually referred them to me, who had tried multiple times and had kept kicking out this spirit, and she thought it was just one old man. And she's like, he just keeps coming back. He just keeps coming back. Can you help my clients? It's a mother and daughter. And I was like, I can do my best. So the mother and daughter called me and they're like, yes, this person um, has tried to help remotely, but we would really want you to come in person. And apparently in that neighborhood, there's everyone complained about paranormal activities. And so a lot of people tried to stay away from there, including the person that kept kicking out the the same she thought it was the same spirit, you know. And I was like, okay, well, I'll come and I'll do the best that I can. So I went there, and it turned out to be a number of spirits that were there. And some of them were past life related. Some of them had died on the land, and from previous people that lived there. So as I was doing the work and kind of helping heal and help these souls transition to a higher dimension and not be earthbound because they were stuck here. They didn't know where else to go or what else to do other than cause all kinds of noises and disrupt people's peace and keep them up at nights. um, when we went downstairs to go to the backyard, uh, I began to walk in the backyard, and we got to this kind of like this bushy area where it was almost like the bushes kind of created this cave. And then there's like this little double brick wall. And when we got there, it was like I just started to kind of shake and vibrate. I'm like, what is this energy? It almost felt like I just had a pot of coffee or something. I felt very kind of jittery. And they're kind of like looking at each other like, is she okay? Do we need to call 911? What's going on with her? And I'm like, give me a moment, please. Because usually when I get messages, I have to stand at that spot where I'm getting the messages so they can keep coming through. So it's energetically, it's important for me to tap into that specific energy at that spot. And I began to see this dark figure, and it was like all black. And so as I began to tell them, I'm like, there's like an extraterrestrial being that was just here. I mean, I'm talking, it feels really fresh, like within the past 24 hours. And and then she's like, let me stop you. She's like, did it have green eyes? And I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, it did, but the body's all black. She's like, I didn't see a body. I just saw green eyes blinking at me.
Wow.
Her daughter, it's a grown, she's grown. She doesn't live there, but she was there for support. And her daughter and her husband were sitting in the patio, and she was looking at these pair of green blinking eyes while she's trying to tell them, look, 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 look in the bush. And they're like, you're crazy. There's nothing there. Oh my God, she's crazy. And then she smacks her daughter. She's like, you see, I told you, I'm not crazy. She's just verified. I'm not crazy. And she's like, okay, mom, chill out. And so anyway, so that was one confirmation. A few months later, I heard back, and she's like, we have some more noises in the house. Can you please come back? We think the old man's back. They were thinking that's what that lady told them, that, oh, the old man must be back. There's like 7 or 8 of them that I had to help. It wasn't just an old man. But anyways, I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's necessarily the old man's that's back, but I'll come and find out. One of the souls that I helped retrieve was an Indian chief. And on that land, there happened to be a brush fire where all these Indians, unfortunately, got burned and died. Okay. So that Indian chief was keeping a lot of these other spirits that were going from house to house and causing all kinds of chaos, paranormal activities, like, for example, a pot of plant getting thrown off the table and then flipping upside down on the ground. The purse flying off the table. So it's just like a lot of weird things. And then hearing loud thumping sounds throughout the night, like there's a horse going through the house or something. So then I realized, I was like, oh, the chief was keeping all these spirits out. And so now as a result, they're just coming in. Whoever that wants to can come in. So when I was at that house, what was interesting is before I found that out, we were upstairs talking. I was talking with the mother and daughter, and my guidance kept telling me all the spirits are downstairs. Stop wasting your time up here. They're all down there. I went down there and I found a total of 58 spirits in the basement. They had gone and gathered each other. They knew I was there, someone that can communicate with them. And they were eager to get help. And they wanted to go somewhere more peaceful. They wanted to stop living in such fear. And it was like it was almost like they claimed that to be their land, but at the same time, they're still like in that kind of a that trauma never got cleared from them. And so as a result, they were causing a lot of problems. Very long story short, I ended up that was at that time that was the biggest group, but I've done bigger groups since then, where I did soul retrieval of all. And then we went to the backyard again. This time it was different. This time when we went to the backyard, I didn't feel the sensations that I felt the previous time in that same area, but we went further along the gate. Um, so I'm sorry, fence, the fence. And so when we got to the fence, that's when I was just like, oh, I'm feeling two presents. This is a totally different feeling than that previous one. And as I was getting message, I'm like, they're just here. They're just here to learn, to get information from us. They're just transferring they're just kind of traveling back and forth in terms of getting what they need, taking it back to their planet, doing whatever that they need to with it. But I felt like I literally, when I closed my eyes, and a lot of times when I close my eyes, I could I could see without like any interferences. I literally, when I closed my eyes, I saw where the spaceship was. And I pointed to the direction of where I was seeing where the spaceship came. It was like, so it was their home, there was a fence here, there were some other homes, and then there was this open land area. And I said, that's where the spaceship came. And I said, I would be willing to bet that they're going to come back again. And because they're not done. And the lady's like, okay, well, I'm not scared as long as they're not going to hurt me. And I'm like, no, 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 they're not going to hurt you. They're not here to hurt anybody. And she's like, okay, that's cool. Her and her daughter, they kept an eye in the area because like from the master bedroom, where there was also a patio, it was like directly right where I was showing them. So they were just kind of like keeping an eye. And and then either that night or the night after, they sent me a number of short little videos of the spaceship. So they're like, you're right.
Wow.
Yeah. But the energy of them it's very interesting because I've noticed even like sometimes when I go places where I sense that there was extraterrestrials, and sometimes extraterrestrials can appear as they can be shapeshifters. They can look like humans, where I felt like I'm like, oh, you're not human. I know you're standing for, and they can have a physical form too. So I've seen that as well. But each one I've noticed has different energy, and it's almost like they're from different places here for different reasons. Um, and I mean, as long as we're really not out to get them, I I have never felt them being harmful in any way.
Yeah, I don't feel that they're harmful. I feel that they're here to help us evolve, and the only reason they get a bad rap, at least I mean, I don't know this to be true. I'm sure there just as there are people who are not good, there are extraterrestrials who may also have nefarious intent. But I also have to take their side a little bit because when people are saying, "Oh, they're attacking us," and well, we've also apparently captured some of them and shot at them and kept them captive. So I like to think that when they do get aggressive, it's only in self-defense and that they're not here to take over the earth or kill everybody. I think that they're here to help us evolve because they see how we are destroying ourselves and this planet in so many different ways. And they want us to be better. They want us to evolve and remember who we are because they are they're beings of sort of a higher evolution, because they've been here longer, and they want us to cut the crap. That's sort of how I see them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's all kinds, there are all kinds and with all kinds of different purposes. And like I said, some of them live among us that we may not even be aware of. I mean, I was doing a session for this one lady, and when she was telling me about her marital challenges, and she said, "Can you tell me about my husband? I mean, what is with him? Why doesn't he understand anything I tell him? He's like a rock. He's so intelligent, but he's just not when it comes to relationships and heart, he's just not with the program. It's like talking to the wall." And so when I tuned into him, I was like, wow, this guy, first of all, he's fully disconnected with his heart. Secondly, he's had way more reincarnations as um, he's lived in other planets way more than he has lived here. This was like new territory for him. This was like, I'm trying to figure this out so I can take this information elsewhere and do other things with it, right? And I told her, I said, he's he's an alien. I said, your husband has nothing but alien energy. And she's like, oh my God, I always tell people my husband's an alien. You just confirmed it. I mean, she was just like, she's like, now I know for sure. And I don't think I can live with this alien any longer.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they're among us. And one time I remember I was in the mountains. I was sitting by the river, and I purposely chose this one little area so nobody else would kind of crowd my space, and I'd have like my bubble, my little piece part for me without interferences. Well, this very aggressive energy comes by me, and he just looked like a regular looking guy with glasses on and shorts and a t-shirt. But the energy, I'm telling you, it was like he was fresh out of a spaceship or something. I'm just like, what is he doing? He comes and cuts right in front of me. He stands beside me, and then he's looking down at me, just staring at me. And I'm like, don't have eye contact, Erica. Do not give him any energy. Do not talk to him. Just ignore him, let him go. And I really felt like he was like one of the leaders up there. And I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, it was this very, very aggressive energy. So the guy noticed that I'm not paying attention to him. So he comes and then he goes to like across the river. There's like, it was kind of like a U here. And then he comes to the other side of the water and he stands in front of me. He takes uh, my picture, and then literally there's like this kind of like the only place that there was some, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like a cloud or something, fog, little foggy area. And after he took my pictures, he just disappeared into the fog. And that was the only spot that I saw like fog. And half hour later, nothing, no sign of the fog, no sign of the guy, nothing. So that's what I mean. It's like sometimes they can just shape, change and shifts, like looking like humans or any shape that they really want. And a lot of times I feel them energetically too. Like I'll literally sense a presence of an alien in the room or something, or inside somebody even. And when I begin to kind of communicate with a client or whoever about what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling and their purpose and the messages that I'm getting, usually when I tell the person the messages that really pertains to them, that's true to them, um, they they accept it. It's like it resonates with them. It's not like foreign, like, "Oh, you're weird, don't tell me that." It's not like that. They're like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." I mean, I could be telling them, "Oh, I see this blue alien inside of you," and they're like, "Yeah, I've been seeing that." And then they open up to me, things that they were too afraid to share with anybody else.
Yeah, and do you think excuse me, is that alien like a past life? Or is it an actual blending of energies? What do you think?
That's an excellent question. So sometimes you can have past lives connected to those aliens. With that one in particular, that's somebody that she knew from another planet, where she actually has a counterpart part that lives there that is an alien who's connected to that. So they're basically, in this case, this particular alien was living through her to have her human experiences. And that's how he was developing and learning and then taking data back to the planet that she has resided in, and that she also has a counterpart in. So in that case, that was, yeah. And with her, she's also found that sometimes they appear to her in dreams as well, and she's noticed like healing. She's experienced healing. Like they may appear as like a doctor or something, and she's very familiar with the difference of the energies of what feels extraterrestrial. Is that really a human doctor, or is that an AT? And then she was having some physical challenges, and that particular being told her that she's not going to need surgery, she's going to be okay, and that she was going to heal. Um, and when she woke up, she had immediately experienced healing. So after she felt like she was worked on. So we can also benefit in different ways as well, for our own healing and growing purposes.
Great. And now, in all of these years of doing past life healing, I don't know if that's the word you choose, that's just what came
Sure.
to mind. Um, what I'm sure there are a million things you've learned, but what's one that pops into your mind as sort of an overarching, consistent theme about perhaps what we're doing here, how we could heal ourselves, or simply what is it that you want people to know that you've learned from all of this past life work?
Mhm. Um, Excellent question. I can go in so many different
Yeah.
directions with that. So I would say that, for instance, for the past week, and it goes through, I feel like my work goes through themes. It's like this week the theme is this, and last week the theme was that, and then I notice like, wow, it's like everybody that's coming to me, it's like the same thing. I'm finding to myself doing the same thing. Like, for example, I did a session earlier today with a lady, and another session yesterday, and it's like day after day after day with different people. And with them, it had to do with a sense of feeling that they need to sacrifice their lives for others and making others a priority and giving way more than receiving, and not valuing themselves. And so, what's really interesting is last week, when I was doing my own personal work in terms of doing some healing work on myself, I noticed that when I was a child and I was praying for healing for people, what would happen was, and I didn't realize I was doing this at the time, but this is something that I realized last week, was that I was taking on, is like swallowing their pain and suffering. I was taking on their pain and suffering. So a lot of people that I helped, whether it's in this life or previous lives, I had taken on so much of their energy in order to help them cope, to help them heal, to help them keep going and survive. So then I noticed this pattern of, wow, now I'm getting more and more and more people that are like I'm having to do the same thing. While I'm doing the same thing, it's almost like removing all of this energies that from all these souls from inside of me and then directing them into source so that I am not carrying them. I'm giving them to God to handle where they belong in divine light, not for me to carry and feel so weighed down. For instance, today when I was doing a session with a lady, her whole life she's been the caretaker of her whole family, and when she was a child, she had siblings that she became the parent of because the parents didn't have time; they had to work and not be home, so they put her in charge. Well, ever since then, she kind of owned this mother title and raised her siblings. And then she had a family, raised her kids, and now her grandkids, and always sacrificing, giving to others. And she's like, it's wearing me out. And then I immediately got this past life where I saw her as a man, though, in this past life and very it was she was very strong man, but it was almost like I felt like he was kind of parallel to Jesus, like they were kind of doing the same work, like sacrificing their lives and saving lives and helping people. And there's a lot that was going on from war to starvation to a lot of people dying and having to bury them. That she, meaning he, because she was a he then, that was doing, and he died when he was 48 years old in that life. So he had this way of thinking and believing that he had to save lives, and so he took on that responsibility instead of knowing when to do something and when to stop, or when it's not her job, or do something and then give them to source, or make them responsible for whatever it is that they, whether it's their karma or their life lessons or whatever it is that they need to learn or heal from. So by taking everybody's stuff on, she just feels buried, and she's got so much anxiety. And so now the doctor said, oh, we got to put you on anxiety medication, we got to put you on ADHD medication, we got to do this. And I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's because you're on overload, and we need to start to. So then it was kind of like doing the same process that I was doing for myself, removing everybody energetically, lifetime after life. So it's all these, like, in a way, like you could see their energies were like souls, just being kind of released, but then also directing these souls into the light and then helping them with whatever it is that they need. They need to feel safe, they need to feel whole, they need to feel empowered and you know, live in abundance, and depending on whatever it is that the trauma was related to. So just kind of also doing some new decision, moving them through new decision making process while they are transitioning into the light and out of, like, her physical being, out of her energy field, and but while I was doing the work, she was knocked out, snoring her life away, which is music to my ears. I always encourage people to relax and let go, because that way they're getting out of their way and my way, and things are just happening so quickly. But when somebody's like very um if they've had a lot of trauma and they can't relax, and they got to know exactly what you're doing and what that means and how did you do that, and have a million questions, or have an analytical mind, or their egos can interfere and make my work a lot harder and limit their own healing. I
Yeah.
go on and on.
No, that's great. I'm here for it. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Of
And
course.
there will be a link so that people know where to reach you, and a link to your book. Is there anything else you want to share about services you have coming, or workshops, or anything of interest that you'd like to share?
I have clients worldwide, so I just want people to know that I could do sessions remotely, and most often, for me at least, it's 99% of the time, it's just as effective as having sessions in person. But if they are in Colorado, I've even had clients fly in from different places for in person sometimes. I do have an office in Littleton, Colorado, where I see clients, but most often I do remote sessions. And yeah, and all of my services and specials, whether it's the home clearings or introductory sessions or remote or in person, they're all on my website, healingwish.net.
Excellent. Erica Gholizadeh, thank you so much for being here today. It's been such a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like this has been a beautiful gift. I appreciate you. Thank
Me
you.
too. Thank you.